Hi, my name is Anna Marie Boyd, and you are listening to Moved by Grace Counseling Radio. And you're here with me in studio today. So excited to see you guys, to hear you guys even more clearly. I've never used this type of equipment, so it's very, very exciting to me. My name is Anna Marie Boyd, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, a registered drama therapist, a registered yoga teacher, and a PhD candidate in mind-body medicine with a specialization in integrative mental health. My podcast tries to supply chicken nuggets of information regarding somatic and alternative approaches to psychotherapy. In just 10 minutes each episode, we learn about topics such as creative therapies, neuroscience and play, mind-body connection, and alternative approaches to psychotherapy. So without further ado, we are going to jump right into our episode for today. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you're here on this platform. This is going to be a little bit different, so I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to do my best. I am reading off a script because that's what I'm used to doing, but I'm going to try to go off script, be a little bit more authentic, which leads to the topic of today. So the episode for the day is actually going to end our series on cultivating, understanding, and changing patterns of thought and behavior in the realm of human relationships. So I've broken this series down into 4 basic steps that I'm hoping will be applicable to your life, inspire or generate some movement in your relationships, and inspire you to look inward at maybe some of the patterns that have been holding you back from the relationships that you really want in life. So each week we collect information from scholars, researchers, and biblical texts to guide our journey. And each week, we provide a new perspective on healing relational wounds and cultivating a new future for yourself and the individuals around you. So welcome back. I'm so happy that you've chosen to continue on this journey with me. And we're just going to recap the steps that we have so far that we've gone through. Again, we could go on for days about each of these steps, but I'm trying to just make it nuggets for you to start thinking about. If there is a certain topic or episode that you want me to go more in depth on, I'd love to do that. I'd love to explore that with you. So any feedback is really helpful. But going back to step 1, taking accountability of ourselves and our response. Step 2, moving into conflict and even seeing it as an opportunity to embrace intimacy or move towards intimacy. Step 3 involves becoming curious about the relationships around you that you really admire, the type of friends that you really feel fulfilled and supported by, and how you yourself can move towards a friend that you really value. And that's tough work, to look into yourself and recognize patterns that maybe are not so easy to recognize or to own up to. And that's okay. We're human. That's the point of this process. It's supposed to be a little bit messy. So we are going to move into step 4, which I've used this terminology time and time again, vulnerability. So we are going to talk about embracing vulnerability and secrets within relationship. So I'm getting a little bit excited already, but we all have secrets, right? How many of us have those like surface level friendships that we see those people time and time again? Maybe we really desire, we really want to be friends with them, but we just keep it up here. If you're feeling that way, tends to lead to feelings of loneliness and or isolation, even when you're surrounded by a lot of people, right? A part of that is when you are in relationship, and I'm not talking about everybody, your coworkers, like the person you see on the street, but when you're in relationship with the goal of deepening that friendship, if you know there are parts of yourself that you're really not sharing, like how you're actually doing, that's probably keeping you on that surface level. So we're going to go into that a little bit, some of the rationale behind why we have those defense mechanisms, our protective mechanisms, and how we can actually counteract that to cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. So I've been told often that our deepest insecurities stem from 2 things. 1, feeling like we are too much, feeling like our feelings are too much, it's too much of a burden to put onto people. That's 1. Number 2 is chronic feelings of I'm not enough, or I don't measure up to either the expectations I have in my head, the expectations others have for me, or whatever world it is you're creating. So just kind of identifying those two. They are a recipe for insecurity, and insecurity is difficult to embrace vulnerability, right? So just something to be aware of and think about. We all have moments of, who am I? What did I just do? What do I even believe? Like these really existential questions. And the more that we bottle them up and try to figure them out ourselves, it's a pretty tricky process, and it really doesn't usually lead us anywhere. So we need people. We need people to know where we're at, or to help guide us there. And that can be in the context of an individual therapist, right? But that's a professional relationship. And I would imagine most people desire that level of relationship in their personal life. So extremely valuable resource to have a counselor to help guide you. But if that's your only outlet, it might just be something to think about here. Now we're going to address some of the things that impede our capacity to open up with one another. So many individuals feel this pressure, right, to keep up this facade of how we should be doing versus how we actually are doing. And let's just get this out in the open. Just because you're struggling in a season, that does not equate with your self-worth, y'all. That just means you're going through a time, like every single person on this earth. And the more we try to figure it out ourselves, it's a lonely process. One thing I do want to point out is, so this pressure, right, to only share how we should be doing versus how we actually are doing. I want to bring in these ideas of envy and comparison, so they come into play here. In my opinion, envy and comparison comes from a deep tugging of our deepest desires, the things that we really want in our lives. So for instance, social media, right? You see a happy family, they bought a house, they have the kids, they have these beautiful pictures, and your heart can become jealous, can become envious of, why am I not having that experience? Why am I not in that season of life? The same can be true about people in families, right? Maybe they look at single people traveling the world and they're like, gosh, why can't I embrace life in that way? So I just offer that to say, when we're trying to dig up where this desire, this need, this compulsion to only share the perfect parts of ourselves, it's because our society and our culture really paints that as this is the only and this is the right way to be, right? So Jenny Allen stated a quote that I very much value, and she said, "It is the mercy of God to lose everything on earth and realize that only God is enough. It's also the mercy of God to get everything this world has to offer and realize it's really not what you were really looking for in the first place." So I'm not going to be shy about my faith. I believe that God does mighty, mighty things. And He is in the business of healing. So that's where a lot of my worldview perspective comes from. So I know there's a lot of flaws within religion, but I myself practice Christianity from the Holy Bible. So that's where a lot of my concepts and my philosophy comes from. Certainly not saying my way is the right way, but it is what I believe. So a moment of transparency. Let's try this out, y'all. My name is Anna Marie Boyd, and I have a lot of titles after my name that could equate to worldly professionalism, right? But truly, I always feel, I shouldn't say always, I often feel like I am not professional enough. Like I am still the teenager in the room full of colleagues, right? I have all these certifications, all of this knowledge, and I feel a lot sometimes like, what am I doing? These people are going to find me out, right? That imposter syndrome, I'm sure a lot of you guys experience. Again, this is a feeling. It's not what I believe to be true about myself, but it does come on very strongly, and it's something I struggle with. My name is Anna Marie Boyd, and I have lived many places and had many friends, and I truly struggle with opening up versus wanting to pretend like I'm perfectly fine. I know some of my friends are like, yeah, we see you. I resist authenticity, although it's one of my biggest values. It's something I struggle with. I struggle with knowing how to support others when they really need me, and realize there may be a lack of space for them to be authentic because I'm not showing up in that way. My name is Anna Marie Boyd, and that actually baffles me because what I do for a living is creating like deep, meaningful connections very quickly, right? But I have a skill for it in that level of professionalism. In my personal life, it feels a lot trickier. I have my own counselor. I also have my own friends. My name is Anna Marie Boyd, and I'm a Christian. And there are days where I feel completely in step in line with the Holy Spirit and his vision or his plan, even if it's not what I anticipated. But there are also days where I deeply struggle with spiritual doubt. There are moments where my faith feels out of reach, and there are moments where I feel ashamed about that because I am a Christian. So this episode is my commitment, not to disclose all of my struggles to a wider audience, right? That's something that's easy to do on social media. Some people, that's the only outlet they have. So, I'm sure you guys have seen the posts of like something deeply personal or a deep struggle, and it's somebody that you haven't seen in 15 years. It's like, whoa, okay, you need some support here. Very human thing to do in our generation, and really puts it out there for everyone to see. I am committing to disclose more of my deeper struggles with the people around me that I really trust and that I want to be more intentional with on deepening our friendship and relational bonds. Also asking, what does it mean to be a sister and a friend? And if I'm leading with that in my relationships, then that's where my motivation comes from. Really asking for feedback, like true, authentic feedback for friends. And it's great to disclose struggles, right? It's also great to have fun. A deep part of building meaningful relationships really is proximity, being close to the people that you care about and spending time with them. I have friends all over the world. I have friends in New York, I have friends in Texas, I have friends in California, I have friends in many different places. But a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are more surface, like, hey, how's it going? Just because of proximity, because we're not around each other, we don't get to see each other, we don't get to experience living life together. So being honest, being real, and being vulnerable, that is my challenge for you for today. Again, being intentional about who you share these things with, and knowing that entering a deep relationship, like we talked about in the last episode, requires a level of risk, right? But in my mind, it's certainly worth the risk of being sad or being disappointed, or possibly being deeper friendships, deeper relationships with those approaching. So I hope you guys found some value in this. Thank you so much for joining me on this platform. I hope you enjoyed the material. Always open to feedback. And this is going to close out our season 4. I know it's 19. That's like so not like an even number in my perfectionistic mindset. I'm like, let's get to 20. But no, we're going to stop it at 19 this season. Thank you for being a part of this season. For all of the volunteers that were guests earlier in the season, and then just evolving into this space that you've shared with me. So I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm so excited for our next season. It's going to be both. I'm going to get better at this face-to-face, being authentic, like it's super awkward. And also just being more off script, being more true, being more real. Sharing scientific information, stuff that I really am passionate about when it comes to mind-body medicine, interventions, different modalities, but also just like real check-ins with how I'm doing, how you're doing, maybe having some guests on. It's not going to be a perfect recipe one way or another. It's going to be my heart and what I feel like my God is putting on my heart to share with you guys. So again, it's a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you. The next time you guys see me, I will actually be in Fort Lauderdale in my home office, so I look forward to meeting you then.